We are live. Hello and welcome to the Lion Show. I'm your host, your favorite business coach, Robert Lyon. Today, we have the great pleasure of talking to Frank King. He wrote jokes on The Tonight Show for 20 years and then somehow lost his job to a puppet on Star Search. So, Frank, why don't you explain a little bit about that and tell everybody kind of who you are and what you're up to?
Yeah, I'm a mental health comedian. I was on Star Search, the old Star Search for, I'm sure that people, old enough to remember the original Ed McMahon. I was on there. I won 2 episodes and then lost to a duck puppet. Tragic. Matter of fact, when people ask me, how are you making it in the pandemic? Well, here's the deal. I've had 2 aortic valve replacements, double bypass, a heart attack, and 3 stents. I have major depressive disorder and chronic suicidal ideation, and I lost to a puppet on the old Star Search. This is not the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah. Just set it off, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you got to keep, that's how oftentimes mentally ill people cope, is by keeping a perspective. Yes, things are tough, more so for many other people. But for me personally, I've been through far worse than, the last recession, I learned what the barrel of my gun tastes like. So that was, yeah. That was a little, I would say that was probably a worse time than this time, because of last time I was prepared for this time.
Yeah, well, I hope you nothing but good health, man. It sounds like you've been through the runner. That sucks.
Well, it's all familial. It's nothing lifestyle. My mom had the cholesterol level of a deep fat fryer. My dad had a bad aortic valve, which I inherited. It's called a bicuspid instead of a tricuspid valve. So he died at 40, just boom, gone. And I had mine fixed at 39 because they were watching it to make sure, all right, now's the time. Let's get this done. So I did that. And then I had a double bypass when I had the last valve job. And both those bypasses occluded on the same day. I was half mile up a hill with the dogs, just me and the dogs. I had T-Mobile, so I didn't have cell service, and never fails to get a laugh. And I had a heart attack, and I'm like, man, if I don't get out of the woods, I'm done. I am finished. Oh, yeah, I'm walking like Frankenstein back to the car. Pain's getting worse by the minute. Dogs are playing rock, paper, scissors. Who gets my liver? It was sad.
That's shit, man. So was your whole arm like freezing and going into pain?
Yeah, pain. You also get pain right here under your chin. That's what's really bad. Yeah, and I just wanted to get the dogs back in the car because there's a busy road farther up the drive there, and they'd been wandering in the road, and that would not have been. So I'm like the Marine Corps. We're not leaving anybody behind.
Yeah.
So I made up my mind. Once I got the dogs in the car, I could die, but not before.
Yeah.
And so I got them.
They probably didn't want to get in the car, of course, right?
No, they actually, something about when they sense that sort of distress, generally they behave better.
They're ready.
Got them in the car, came home, screamed to my wife, honey, I'm having a heart attack. Dial 911. You know what I heard? I'm in the bathroom. I got the fan on. I can't hear you. Oh, I walked a half mile, drove 2, and I'm going to die in my hallway. But obviously I didn't die in my hallway. I got to
you're looking good, man. You're silent now. Well, that's crazy, man. So I want to know about working on The Tonight Show. So how did that come to be?
Well, back in the day, way before you were born, Johnny Carson had several permanent guest hosts, and Joan Rivers was one of them, and she stepped in it, fell out of favor, and Leno became the permanent guest host. So if Johnny wanted vacation, Leno came in, and Johnny would say to his staff, I'm taking next week off, which meant Monday was the best of Carson, a rerun, but Jay had Tuesday through Friday, 4 nights, 18 jokes per night for the monologue to write himself, because he was not working for NBC. He was just a comic. And so he started contracting with road comics like me to turn in 12 jokes a day, topical jokes for the monologue. And I was getting on maybe 1 or 2 a week. And then when he got the job for real, they let a lot of the contractors go, but they kept me on, a couple of the guys, and we kept writing for the show, at a distance, on spec until he left the show. We were all there until he left the show. So he got the gig right there at the beginning of the comedy club boom, 85, 86, 87, when there were comedy clubs popping up like mushrooms all over the country. I mean, we were on the road, my wife and I, for 2,629 nights in a row, nonstop.
Wow.
No home, just club to club to club to club for 7 years, and worked with and lived with Seinfeld, Dennis Miller, Ron White, Foxworthy, Bill Engvall, Adam Sandler, Kevin James, Rosie, back when they were just comics before they got to be famous. So it was an amazing time to be in comedy. It was a great time to be in comedy.
Sounds like an awesome trip, man. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, we had my wife and I. We were like the Junior Award Cleaver of comedy. We didn't drink. We were vegetarians. Worked out every day. And we're living in this house with two other comics. We're getting stoned, and they were drinking beer in the middle of the afternoon, watching the Golf Channel, getting high.
That's probably why you're still alive, man.
I have a few. Well, yeah, because some of those guys are dead.
Yeah. So total novice question, but yeah. I love public speaking, and I love I aspire to be a public speaker, but I know that it's important to sometimes open up with a joke, right? So how do you go about creating or writing a good joke? How do you think about it?
Well, in my case, it's the way my brain is wired. I believe my depression, major depressive disorder, and chronic suicidal ideation, we can talk about that in a minute. I believe that's just the flip side of my creativity, imagination, comedic ability. I can teach you to write stand-up. I can teach you to perform it. What I cannot teach you to do, I can teach you the formulas, so you can just plug in a situation. What I can't do is make you process information, incoming information, the way my brain does. And here's an example. See if this ever happened to you. You're in a movie theater, bunch of people, back when we used to go to the movie theater, remember that? And you see something on the screen and it's funny and you're laughing out loud and you stop and you realize, I was the only one laughing.
Yeah, I'm pretty easily amused.
Yeah, and you got the joke. Well, that's my brain all the time. It's always searching for the turn of a phrase, funny, whatever. I can't shut it off. It's just a muscle that after you work it so much, so somebody will say something and, and my brain will turn it around right away and I deliver it. And people think I'm a genius. I don't bother to tell them I'm a professional comedian.
Extreme sarcasm, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm standing in line at the grocery store years ago, and I think everybody thinks the way I do. I'm just beating everybody to the punchline. So I thought, well, I'm gonna try this out. I'm in line. I don't know if you ever do this, but I always look at what the people in front of me and behind me are buying. It's a guilty pleasure. And I'm thinking, I see that the guy in front of me has a bag of frozen shrimp and a quart of motor oil. And just by chance, that week, the big oil spill in the Gulf. What was that? The Horizon.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Hundreds of thousands of gallons. Yeah. So anyway, that was happening right then. So I looked down and I thought, okay, I gave everybody else a chance to look, and I counted to 3, and I go, hey man, interesting choice. Frozen shrimp and motor oil. You're going to serve those Louisiana style? And the cashier's bent over double laughing. You're so funny. You should be a comedian. Yeah, I get that a lot. So that's the moment I realized that not everybody's processing all that the way my addled, I don't believe I'm broken, by the way. I have another TED talk on that called Mental with Benefits. I believe I was made this way. And it's just, the depression and suicidal thoughts are just the flip side of, the creativity. It's just the way my brain works.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's like how you think is different than everybody else. And especially if you've been writing jokes for 20 years, you can't turn it off. That's just who you are.
No. And with hecklers, every now and then, somebody out, when I do a club every now and then,
yeah,
somebody will heckle. There was a woman in Raleigh, my hometown. I was at my hometown club and she'd been drinking all night. But the problem was she was drinking Dom Perignon. And so they didn't want to throw her out because they're making money.
Yeah.
But finally she got too obnoxious, and she was ruining the show for everybody else. So they asked her, she's drunk, she's staggering toward the door to go out. And then she stops and turns back to me. Must have heard something that sounded like her name because drunks are voice activated. Yeah. And she turns back to me and I look at her and she looks at me and she goes, F you. And I said, not even for practice. And the place came apart. I got a standing ovation. And somebody came up afterwards and goes, how'd you think that fast? I go, I didn't think. Yeah, it came screaming. When you heard it, I heard it. I was as surprised as you were. Uh-huh. But I think that's part of the, my brain is wired to do it that fast. Yeah. Take the input, look around, what we got, and then fire off a heckler line.
Did you always know you were going to be a comedian, or did it just you just couldn't do anything else?
Yes and yes. I knew I was going to be a comedian since 4th grade when I told my first joke, and everybody, including the teacher, laughed. I knew that. And then I did the talent show in high school. Nobody had ever done stand-up before. This is 1975. And so I did stand-up. I won. So I knew. And then I married my high school sweetheart, got a real job, and was miserable.
Gross,
didn't need to be married. She's a lovely woman, but we weren't meant to be together. And then insurance is a great business, but I hated it. And I wasn't going to open mic night. And I was seriously considering killing myself. And then I realized, wait a minute, quit my job, divorce my wife, try to stand up. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I can always kill myself. So that's why the fourth TED Talk I did was Suicide, the Secret of My Success, because I had nothing to lose. Because if I stayed put, I was going to die. I could put it all on one roll of the dice. And think about it. I mean, who's more powerful on the planet than somebody with absolutely nothing to lose?
Right. Never bet against a man with nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I got in trouble with the trolls back in February when I came back from Cambodia. We had been in China, Singapore.
Comedy?
Not China. Doing comedy on cruise ships.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so I had been there. There were 2 ships in our area. Ours nobody ever got the virus. The other one, the Diamond Princess, was ravaged. Had to park off Japan for 2 weeks quarantine. None of our people ever had it because we did not allow anybody from mainland China on the ship. I say we, it wasn't like I was checking IDs, but they didn't allow anybody on the ship. So, but I came back and everybody here in Oregon thought I was dragging the virus. I came back to kill everybody. I changed my home phone number. I mean, people were posting a map to my house online. Guy called me up.
Crazy people get.
Yeah. Well, guy called me up and he goes, I know where you work. I'm sorry. I know where you work out. I know when you work out and I'm coming to kill you.
What?
Yeah. I said, well, first of all, I've been trying to do that for 40 years. So take your best shot. And second, just something you should know when you're making your mental calculations. I said, I don't want to die, but I'm not scared of it. So just, put that into your calculation. I mean, do you really want to fight with a guy who's got absolutely nothing to lose? Come on.
Needless to say, Kung Fu virus anyway.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We made jokes on the ship back in the beginning. It's not the love boat, it's the glove boat.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, it's not a booze cruise, it's a flu cruise. Oh yeah. I got laughs. I mean, this is before,
Yeah. This is just kind of a random question, but when you have like a perfect set or like a perfect like road trip or whatever, like what really what makes you the happiest or the most excited about the whole process? Like what really like makes you happy at this point doing these comedian shows or working as a comedian?
I speak mostly on suicide prevention with, I tell funny stories. And it's a lot easier to digest if I throw in some personal mental health stories. Like I'm doing this TEDx first one. And I went to TED.com and I put suicide in the search box, figuring out, let's see how other people handle this topic. Figuring there'd be, dozens of talks on suicide. There were 3. 3. Yeah. And then I said to myself, and I told this joke at my TEDx, I go, well, 3. And then it hit me. Well, let's face it. If you're really good at suicide, you're probably not going to be recording a TEDx talk. So that's my mental health comedian. Funny personal stories like that. What makes me the happiest is when I describe my chronic suicidal ideation, which means for me and my tribe, people like me, suicide is always an option as a solution for problems big and small. And when I say small, a couple of years ago, my car broke down. I had 3 thoughts unbidden. 1, get it fixed. 2, buy a new one. 3, I could just kill myself. That's chronic suicidal ideation. And every keynote I've done since 2014, except for one, there's been at least one person in the audience, sometimes more, who had that condition, chronic suicidal ideation, and did not know it had a name and thought they were just some kind of freak. And I had a woman come up to me at a dental conference. Everybody else is walking out. She's walking toward me. And I look up and she's got tears running down her cheeks. She gets to me. She's crying so hard she cannot speak. And I took a chance and I said, you have chronic suicidal ideation. She nods. I said, you didn't know it had a name. Nod. I said, you just thought you were some kind of freak. Nod. I said, well, do you have a therapist back home? Nod. Well, set an appointment. Tell the therapist everything you learned. And for God's sakes, tell them you found it on Google. Don't tell them you heard it from a comedian. And then see what they say. And a week later, I got an email from her. She goes, Frank, I think I was at the dental convention just to meet you. You've changed my life. And I can't say that about a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that is very therapeutic for me to think maybe I've steered her, far enough off the path of suicide that she'll live a normal life.
Yeah.
At least, she knows she's not alone. She's not some kind of freak, that it is a thing. Mm-hmm. If people find comfort. I've got a friend who's got OCD and he didn't figure that out. At least 22, I think. The only diagnosis of his OCD prior to that was his grandfather, who said, that boy's not right in the head. That was the diagnosis. So he's listening to a radio show and they're going, somebody's talking about OCD. And the guy goes, I got a list of 10 things. If you have 6 of these, you probably have OCD. Well, my friend had all 10.
Wow.
And that's how he found out. And it was a great relief to know that, you know, it wasn't just him. You know, he wasn't some kind of freak. Oh, I got to tell you this. I stopped and stayed at his house one night in Kansas City. And I look at his closet and I knew this. But when he puts his shoes in his closet, they all point north.
Yeah.
So before I left, I went in, I turned every other one south. And about, I think a day later, maybe a little longer, my phone rings. I pick it up and he goes, you son of a, I can't believe it. He goes home, pulls up, he's like, oh,
it's the end.
Yeah. So letting somebody know that they're not alone, you know, and also my job when I come in, they tell me this all the time. We just brought you in here to start the conversation on suicide.
Yeah.
Because people don't talk about it much, but if you bring it up, you mention it, pretty much everybody's got a story.
Yeah, man.
I was on a ship working, I can't remember exactly. We were at sea and I went to the Lido buffet. Every ship's got a Lido. And because we're at sea, the place is jammed because nobody's going anywhere. So you might as well have breakfast. So I'm looking around. There's a table for 2 and a woman, empty chair. So I point, she nods, I sit. She looks up, she goes, hey, are you the comedian? I said, hey, did you enjoy the comedy show? She said, I did. I said, then I'm the comedian. She starts to laugh and she goes, what would you say if I told you I hated it? They tell me I look a lot like him. She said, what do you do besides cruise comedy? I said, I'm a speaker. And if you don't mind me bragging, I really haven't got anybody else to tell. I just got my first TEDx talk. She goes, I love TEDx. What's the topic? Well, I'd had this conversation many times and thought I knew what was coming. So I said to her, depression and suicide. Started a countdown in my head. 3, 2, 1. She goes, you know, Frank, I tried to kill myself twice. We've just met. She said, first time in college, not that big a deal, kind of half-hearted. Second time, far serious. I had graduated college. I had graduated medical school, had the knowledge, had the equipment. She said, Frank, I had the IV started in my ankle. Suicide cocktail in one hand, syringe in the other, getting ready to load it up, and the phone rings. She's thinking, do I answer it? Well, I better. It might be somebody worried, come over, interrupt. She picks it up. It's her 13-year-old son. She goes, I don't know if he had a premonition or heard something in my voice, but he said, Mom, don't do anything. She said, so I didn't. I didn't give up on suicide, but I didn't do it that day because I knew he would always feel when there's something he could say or do to stop me. And by the way, there are things you can say, there are things you can do, because 8 out of 10 people who are suicidal are ambivalent, and 9 out of 10 give hints in the week leading up to a suicide attempt. So I said to her, how old is he now? She said, he's 21. I said, does he know his phone call saved your life? She goes, no. How do you start that conversation? I thought you do a TED talk and that's the theme. Start the conversation. So that's what I do. That's what they pay me. Yeah,
for. Man. Well, suicide is definitely a tough subject. So I just want to acknowledge, like, you talking about it is very powerful. I think that you're doing, great work.
Thanks.
Making it funny too. Cause I mean, if you just talk about suicide, everybody's gonna be real sad, but if you flip it a little bit, give everybody the taste and start the talk, and you make it kind of entertaining in a way. That's good.
Yeah. And I do that with my neuronormal friends every now and then. I got booked to speak in Marco Island, Florida on March 3rd. I mean, it's coming up.
Yeah, man, a month away.
Speakers Bureau called me and said, look, Frank, we got an engagement March 3rd. I said, great. Is it virtual? He goes, no, live in person. I'm like,
Florida.
It's Florida. The virus doesn't exist. They said, would you be willing to do it? And I said, dude, I'm suicidal. Of course I'm willing to do it. I may be the only speaker you got.
That's what I was thinking.
Willing to do it. Yeah.
That's pretty
well, and the thing about doing, saying things like that, I want to make talking about suicide as easy as talking about sports or the weather, where you can joke about it. Because I think we'd save more people if we let them give voice, because it's frightening to hear somebody say, somebody said to me the other day, and I have chronic suicidal ideation. Somebody said to me, when was the last time you thought about killing yourself? I said, what time is it? He goes, what time is it? I go, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, talking about it like this, is, you know, I mean, people will, if you can change prejudices, or perceptions, you can change prejudices. A lot of people have an idea what what mental illness looks like. They got a picture in their mind. And usually it's a guy on the corner with a sign, will work for food, or will, you know, whatever, which is like 4th stage mental illness. That's, you know, he's gone. He just doesn't know it yet. But see somebody like me, you know, comedian up on stage, yucking it up, you know, and obviously somewhat high functioning, then it changes your perception about what mental illness.
Yeah, you never really know what another person's going through, what battle they're fighting. So
yeah, somebody said to me, "I don't know anybody's mentally ill." Oh, yes, you do.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah, when in the 70s, people said to me, I don't know anybody who's gay. I go, yeah, you do. They just haven't mentioned it yet.
Yeah,
so, yeah, because you know, how do you know? You walk right by somebody, not even know.
Yeah, all my friends are ex-military or artists, so there's a lot of suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
those are the combos. Yeah.
Well, and they actually this past week in Inverse Magazine online, there was a study where they discovered the genes for depression and intelligence overlapped. So it's possible that people with depression are on average more intelligent, which is, you know, it's good and bad. Good that they get the positive with the negative. The bad is, and I've got 2 friends exactly like this, and they mentioned this in the article. The bad is, for really intelligent people who have mental illness, oftentimes they think they can think their way out of it.
Whoa.
And you need to feel your way out of it. It's not you know, and I've got 2 friends whose wheels have been spinning for years trying to figure out, just sure they can figure out, you know, get past this, get over this. And
yeah, I don't know what to tell people if they're in that place other than, you know, try and get some help and try and
get evaluated,
laugh or something.
Yeah, get evaluated, find out, you know, what you have. And if medicine's indicated, my advice would be try what they suggest. And if it doesn't work, because a third of the time, mental illness drugs, psychotropics work great. Yeah. For a third of the people, and for a third of the people, just really bad. So that means only 1/3 is that drug working for the 1/3 of the people. So they now have a DNA cheek swab test. They test your DNA against like a couple of antidepressants to find the one that works best with your metabolism. So you get a lot less experimentation. You know, go on, doesn't work, taper off. Go on, doesn't work, taper off. This way they can dial it in a bit in hopes of finding one that works, you know, so put you in that first third where, yeah, this works great. So, but it is a bit of a crapshoot. Until you get the meds dialed in.
Yeah, for sure. Get some help. Take a nap. Google boobs. Figure it out. I don't know.
Yeah, I take 2 naps a day, actually.
Yeah, that's good for you.
Yeah, well, and the thing, major depressive disorder, which is what I have, it's cycle lasts 3 days to 3 weeks. Mine happens to be 3 days. And then it recurs like a flat spot on a wheel. Just comes around every now and then. And oddly, it's not situational. I've been most depressed and suicidal at some of the best times in my life. Money in the bank, bookings on, you know, I got bookings, mortgages paid off, no credit card debts.
Hits you, huh?
I'm just like, oh man. I was in Coronado. I'm walking the dog on the beach. There's an off-leash beach, and had to go back across the Coronado Bridge back to San Diego proper. And a good number of people have jumped off that bridge. And I that thought crossed my mind as I got to the top of the bridge. Yeah, I was counting my blessings going up. I got done with my blessings and I still wanted to jump. So I thought, you know, I need a little something, medication, I think. So that's not good.
Sometimes you need the pharmaceutical.
And people are now situationally depressed because of the pandemic. And my advice is get a mental health checkup. And if antidepressants are indicated, A, hopefully the first one will work. B, get the DNA cheek swab. And know this, it's not a life sentence. As soon as the pandemic eases up and things go back to near normal, you just taper off the meds and you may never use them again.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's just bridge. So, you know.
Yeah. Pretty heavy stuff. When, I grew up, my dad is severely bipolar. So you would have very large mood swings. So you never knew exactly who you were going to talk to, but he is and was, one of the smartest, most intelligent people I've ever met, but he was, all over the place, and just mental health is just, it's a real thing that people deal with. And it's just pretty wild. And you never know what's going on.
Well, and bipolar, there's a book called The Bipolar Advantage.
Yeah.
Because when you're in that, there's manic and then depressive, and in between there's a layer called hypomania.
Yeah.
And you're charismatic and creative, don't need much sleep, don't need to eat much. You take inspired risks, and when they pay off, people think you're a genius. The trouble is is holding a person at that altitude. Because it's really easy to slip into mania, and delusions and whatever, or into the depressive state, which is more dangerous than just ordinary depression. More suicides in the depressive state than depression. Yeah. So but I'm telling you, there's a book called The Bipolar Advantage and How Creative and Smart. And they list people from history. Alexander Hamilton, they think, was because of his work ethic, his work habits.
It is pretty crazy how the amazing success has come from some of the people that are the most unstable.
Well, yeah, I'll have to give you an example from football. Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football. First freshman to win the Heisman, I think. And all kinds of accolades. But if you look at his rap sheet on the backside of that, domestic abuse, trouble with the police. And he's at Cleveland for 2 years in the NFL and washed out after 2 years.
Wow.
And finally got diagnosed as bipolar and he got into therapy. But when he was, he was medicating with beer up to that point. But I believe during those hypomanic episodes, that's why he was such an inspired quarterback.
Yeah, I always think of Robin Williams and things like that when you're listening off,
You know what? Robin Williams, actually, I do believe was living with bipolar.
Yeah, I think so too.
He wouldn't tell anybody. And I think the reason is probably had thoughts of suicide. And when you do a movie, you have to, but the production company buys a life insurance policy on you. So if you die of any cause during production, they get their money back.
What?
So, that way they recover their money. Yeah. So, if Robin had gone into the life insurance agent and they chatted about his mental health and he, yes, I'm bipolar. Yes, I'm on this medication. He might not have gotten the life insurance, and no life insurance policy, no project.
Yeah. That's a deep hole I didn't think about. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's why he was very forthcoming about his, substance abuse disorder treatment and recovery. He joked about that, but never about, the dark side of
comedy, or just your brain.
Brilliant, a brilliant comic. Yeah. Fast on his feet. And I think it was probably just the flip side of his mental illness. Just the way his brain was wired for both those things.
Yeah, true creativity. Yeah, the only thing that really helped my dad is meditation and pharmaceuticals, just getting the right amount of lithium and all that stuff. But have you ever tried meditation to help with your things, or
I do it twice a day.
There you go. So
I do it after every meal. I've got a guided meditation. I lie down, and put my eye patches on and MP3, and it takes you down. Yeah, and then brings you back up on the other end.
Just get your brain to freaking shut up.
Yeah, it's like a manual reset. It's like pulling the plug on the computer. Remember back in the day when they go, "Well, try unplugging it."
Oh man, well, I love having you on. This has been a great time. Tell everybody about the TEDx thing, because I'd like to learn more about that too.
Oh yeah, and I'll give you a tip here on how to find. They do not make it easy to find links to apply. So what you do is you open a browser window and you type in TEDx applications, plural, TEDx applications 2021. And you'll see what you're looking for is not the official TED pages, because to discourage people, as far as I can tell, you go to let's say it's TEDx Nashville, and you go to the official TED.com page for TEDx Nashville. There's no link there, nothing to apply for the TEDx Nashville.
Yeah.
So you go to TEDx applications 2021, you're looking for a .com, Nashville.com, Emory.com, or a Facebook page for the talk where you can message the volunteers and say, hey, when does the window open for? But you can actually find links. If you do a Google search and go 4 or 5 pages deep, you should find a half a dozen where you click on it and you go to their website and it says, apply to speak. And you click on that and down comes the form. Now, don't let this throw you. They say, who do you want to nominate? Well, you can always nominate yourself, but they don't tell you that. Because again, I think trying to keep the numbers down, because the average TEDx gets a couple hundred applications. So they're looking to keep the numbers down if they possibly can. So TEDx applications 2021, and then find a .com or a Facebook page where you can message them. And I believe the key to when you get that form to speak, whatever you put in those first couple of boxes has got to be really intriguing, entertaining, thought-provoking. Because if they get a couple hundred applications, they're not looking for a reason to give you an audition. They're looking for the first reason not to. Ooh. So, so I tell people, be very brief, one idea, not a thesis, just one idea worth spreading. And the talks usually go, first third is your personal experience, kind of your struggles, messes and stresses. Second part of it is the middle part of the TEDx is here's what I learned. And the last part is, okay, now here's what I'm going to teach you. Because the TEDx committee always wants to know, or almost always, what are you going to teach my audience? Yeah. How are they going to be better for having heard you speak? That's what they're asking. Both in the live audience and then, once it goes up on YouTube, it goes all over the world.
Right.
So that's TEDx Applications 2021. That's many people have said to me, I just have no idea how to apply. That's how you apply. And some have a theme. So if you can take your idea and make it dovetail with a theme, that's great. If you get an audition, again, get an audit, make sure you have a list of those, what the audience is going to learn, bullet points.
Yeah.
They'll after they hear me speak, they'll be able to, they'll know how to, and here's a couple of action items. Like meditate would be an action item. I think you should meditate at least once, sometimes twice a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a great book called Talk Like TED. Talk Like TED.
I think I've read
that.
Watch
Watch five or 600. Have you seen that?
Yeah, you can make it just basically tells you how to make a good speech, do it like 18 minutes and be really on it.
The 9 things that belong in every great TEDx. Passionate about your subject, number 1. Mm-hmm. So if you got that, do you have an idea
of what I want to talk about?
Yeah.
Man, I'm full of ideas. I'd have to really sit down and pick one that would rock people's worlds. Cause I'm a connoisseur of knowledge and trying to help people. So that'd be fun though. And I think I would definitely want to do some speaking.
Yeah. Where do you live?
I'm in Arizona.
Okay. I imagine there's probably a chapter of the National Speakers Association. Oh, there must be, because I think they're based in Arizona.
Yeah, I think they're in Phoenix.
Have you ever been to an NSA meeting?
I looked at the things to apply, and then the whole pandemic happened. It's like kind of
there is that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when the pandemic eases up, I would definitely, because you don't have to be a member to attend. Generally, you just pay a little higher day rate, and each meeting they have at least one speaker, sometimes 2, talking about the business of speaking. How do you put a video together? How do you put a 1-page together? How do you work with Speakers Bureau? Each person will talk for several hours on these, business items in the speaking business. It's a great place to learn the business of speaking.
Yeah.
And they help you also find, like I said, narrow down your list of things you want to talk about. Because eventually you want to pick a lane, they call it in speaking. Mm-hmm. Pick a lane, go deep, not wide. Right. Again, something you're passionate about. For me, people go, how'd you choose suicide as a topic? Well, the topic chose me. It's in my DNA.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I didn't have much choice, which is great. And your dad was bipolar. Why do you talk about mental health? Well, my dad was bipolar, and I never knew, when I came home or he came home, who exactly was going to show up.
Yeah.
I've been told that by people that had parents who were bipolar, the sweetest guy. And then is he going to be that way when he comes home tonight, or is it going to be the other guy?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So pick a lane, and then you recommend making just go to these free speaking places, right? This is what they tell you. You go to the free places, you do some speeches, you record yourself doing a speech, and then you kind of use that as your not resume, but just proof that you can do the thing, and that helps you. You think?
Well, to get booked as a speaker for money, chances are you're going to need a video for the meeting planner so they can see what you do.
Yeah,
that's. And there are some people, rare instances, who get booked without video, but almost always. Well, have you got like a 3 to 5 minute video clip of you on stage doing this?
Yeah, I get invited to these I get invited to these virtual summits, and I'm probably going to be doing quite a few of them this year. So,
good.
Maybe that'll pass.
Yeah. Well, and when the pandemic eases up and you go to an NSA meeting, I'd recommend that.
Yeah.
Toastmasters. I've spoken to a number of Toastmasters recently about TEDx. Because a lot of times they, some of the Toastmasters couldn't care less, but some would like to have a TEDx talk. So I've got a 7-minute one, because they're big on 7-minute speeches.
Yeah.
So, and I've got a 40-minute one if they do a special event. But yeah, I would say, Toastmasters, great place to develop material in a supportive audience. But maybe you're beyond that. Maybe you're beyond the Toastmasters. Because it's kind of a
I have to do it for the experience, if anything. It would just, that's what they tell you to do, and I'd love to just go and practice, if anything. So that'd be fun.
Well, and when you if you get at least 20 minutes together on the topic or topics, every Rotary Club, Kiwanis Club has a speaker every week.
Yeah,
and they give you 20 minutes and 5 minutes Q&A plus lunch.
Boom.
So it's a great place to. That's when I made the switch from comedy club to corporate comedy. I knew I'd be speaking to business people.
I
Yeah.
was wondering how you made that transition. So
Yeah,
that's
well,
cool.
it didn't take long when I figured out how much more money you make in corporate comedy. Oh my God. Because it has to be absolutely HR friendly, clean.
Yeah.
You can't just take the F word out of your act and make it work. So yeah, when I spoke at every Rotary Club in the county
Yeah.
because I want to practice in front of business people.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Get more
So,
practice in front of business people.
Yeah,
When did you decide to make that pivot?
I had 93 April. I got a job in radio in Raleigh, my old hometown. So we came off the road, and that lasted 18 months. And then by the time I got fired, the comedy club boom had busted. They were closing faster than they were opening. And I thought, I got a clean act. I think I better make the jump to corporate. It's time to reinvent. Because I was, I started out as 24, 25. And everybody in the club, all the audience is 24, 25. And now I'm 35.
Yeah.
So, I'm getting older and I'm thinking, well, now corporate makes sense because I'm 35 and the pay is by a factor of 5 or 10. You make maybe $250, $300 a night headline a one nighter in comedy. And, you can make 5,000 for the same 45 minutes at a corporate event. So I'm no math major, but
figured it out.
Yeah. So, well, first you have to figure out what you want to talk about. I would suggest make sure it's something you're passionate about. And then we need to figure out, does anybody care?
Right.
I mean, no matter how good your keynote is, if nobody gives a damn, they're not going to book it. In my case, I picked some target markets, occupations that have a high rate of suicide: dentists, veterinarians, physicians. And they have annual meetings. They use outside speakers. They can pay my fee, and they have a really desperate need to hear what I have to say because they want to bring the suicide rate down.
Yeah.
So I'm addressing that pain point for them. So that's what I work. When I work with my clients, that's what we work to figure out. Okay, what's your lane? Okay, and then who are your ideal clients? Because we don't want to market to the world. If we can narrow it down, it makes it a lot easier to market if we know, it's dentists or veterinarians or whoever it happens to be.
Yeah. And then you just look at where they're having conferences and things like that. How long have you been teaching people how to get coaching or TEDx talks? Yeah.
It's been about a year, I guess. Yeah. Because I was talking to my business coach and she said, Frank, I know you're coaching TEDx for free and that shit's got to stop. And she gave me the name of her website guy. He's going to design you a website for TEDx and you're going to start charging. And then a friend of mine, an acquaintance, somebody I met on LinkedIn, we were chatting and she said, I wish I'd met you 2 weeks ago. I just hired a TEDx coaching company. And I said, how much did you pay? She goes, $4,800.
Oh, yeah.
I said, Amy, I'm way too cheap. I'm up in my prices. I went to 30. I was charging like by the hour, 150 an hour or something.
Yeah.
And I went to $39.97, $397 down, $300 a month.
Yeah.
And I've got 16 clients and people go, wait a minute, you are coaching them to get a talk that doesn't pay anything, but they're paying you a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, TEDx is kind of like a big moment in someone's career if they're trying to be a speaker,
Yes. And it makes a great demo. And those red letters behind you, they still have some cachet. And I've got a friend who's putting his website together. Yeah. And I said, look, on the homepage, I would put this picture of you at the TEDx. It's a good picture, good, it's good, high quality, it's
build your authority or something.
Yeah. And then I said, right next to it, see how Glenn, I can't remember what the wording was, but a button to click for Glenn's video. Yeah. And it's just TEDx. So we're leading with his best credit, with the TEDx, both the photograph and the video. And then.
Yeah, and it's rockets from there, man, to the moon.
To the moon, Alice.
Your career is on fire. That's so cool, man.
Well, I can help people. Occasionally, we figure probably save a life or two along the way. Yeah, and that's a good day's work. So, and I get to be funny, and and people ask me, do you not get hired as a suicide prevention speaker because you're funny? I go, no, you got it backwards. Yeah. They want the lived experience, my story. They want the information, that my takeaways and stuff, and the fact that I can, be amusing along the way, that usually seals the deal. And rather than a clinician, absolutely.
Yeah, they say if you can educate and entertain, that's pretty much the goal.
Yeah, and I take them from tears because I get choked up when I tell my stories, and then make them laugh. So you get that. If you can make them, for either end.
Yeah, well, if you make them feel anything, especially nowadays, you can make people feel anything. You're a god to them.
Well, I did a showcase not long ago, 15 minutes for dentists. This is how I got in the dental business. And they gave 15 minutes. And so I got, instead of PowerPoint, I got a big countdown clock app. And so when I get up on stage, I say to the audience, and the clock starts as soon as I hit the stage. So they're watching like a bomb, they're watching the countdown clock. I said, every year in the United States, 47,000 people die by suicide. That's one every 15 minutes. That means at this moment in this country, somebody in my tribe has less than, and I look back at the clock, 15 minutes to live. And so the entire time I'm talking, the clock's running down. So they're looking at me and they're looking at the clock. They're looking at me and looking at the clock. And I get down about 30 seconds. And my closing line is, the good news is you can make a difference. You can save a life, and you can do it by doing something as simple as we're doing right here. And that's starting the conversation. And with about 7 seconds to go, I turn to the clock and go, before their time runs out. And the tech at the back stops the clock at 6 seconds. And I mean, they're on their feet. They're crying. Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I love it, dude. You're a real showman.
I'm telling you. And the woman who booked me, she goes, Frank, I've been to all kinds of showcases. I've never seen anybody get a standing ovation after 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a little manipulative, but
you're doing important stuff.
Yeah, like I said, maybe we saved a life. Who knows?
Yeah, man. Well, it's been so awesome having you on today, man. I really appreciate you coming. I got one more question for you, but before that, why don't you tell everybody the best places to find you online and the best way to get in contact with you?
Well, and people ask me who should do a TEDx. Well, if you're a speaker, an author, because you can't, sell your book from the stage, but you can talk about its content, its theme, a coach. A lot of coaches it's being suggested they do a TEDx on their topic because they're probably passionate about it. Or if you got a charitable cause, a charity that you're really excited about, because you can't ask for donations and volunteers, but when you talk about all the great work the charity does, hopefully you will get. So yourtedxcoach.com, your TEDx coach. And if you go there, there's a free PDF, the 6 things you can do to kill your chances of landing a TEDx talk. Download, won't cost you anything. And then that's when I speak to Toastmasters, I give them the 6 things you can do to kill your chances. And then my mental health site's thementalhealthcomedian.com. And there's a book for our first book on men's mental health. I narrate it for Audible. And I had them make me an MP3 copy that if you go to my website, you can download for free and hear me narrate it unabridged.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm excited about that. I think that's freaking awesome. So the last question I'm asking, we kind of answered it before, but I'm asking everybody, like, what motivates you, or what is motivation?
Oh, well, as I mentioned about getting out of the bed, there are days when I do not want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
But I believe, because I've found my passion and my purpose, that gets me up in the morning. And, every now and then I get an email or a DM, somebody saying they saw something I'd done, YouTube, TEDx, and how they've been at their lowest point. And, I think, you saved my life. That's a motivator to keep after it.
Yeah, a little bit of a higher calling, man. You're definitely fighting the good fight, and I really appreciate what you're doing. And
my pleasure. I am unusually well suited. It's like Liam Neeson in the Taken series. I have a unique set of skills.
Yeah, and I will find you.
And I will find you. Yeah,
I'll make you laugh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought it'd be. I had an idea for a movie where the comic on the cruise ship is actually the assassin.
Oh.
Okay, so you sail to Columbia. The comic gets off. There's some kind of rally. He takes out the politician. Okay, now they close the airport. They close the train stations. They close the bus stations. Are they really going to go on the cruise ship looking for the assassin?
Yeah.
Yeah, and as they're they circle the city and nobody's getting out and.
Oh man, you got to write that screenplay. Someone else is going to take it now.
In my mind, I saw Tom Hanks standing at the bottom of the jetway, or bottom of the stair. How he did in the Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, chasing them, looking at them.
Yeah, and he was waiting for him at the bottom of the staircase coming down the airplane.
Yeah.
In my mind, I see Tom Hanks, and I'm coming down the gangway, about to get back in the States. Coming down the gangway. And in comedy, if you do a really good job, they say I killed. So I saw Tom Hanks going, "Hey Frank, how was the cruise? Oh, you know me. I killed.
I
And
killed.
there's nothing they can do because they can't tie me to the except by looking at my schedule. Well, but it's like Jessica, what's her name in Murder She Wrote. I mean, every place she showed up, people died. And somebody should have tumbled to it before,
Figured it out.
Oh,
Yeah.
God,
Connect the
Jessica.
dots.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, dear God, honey, can't you pick the Holiday Inn's got rooms? Yeah, nobody seemed to notice she brought the kiss of death with her. But anyway, that's my story.
Thank you, Frank. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
thanks
man.
everybody for listening and investing their time and checking this out. Be sure to like and subscribe. And yeah, thanks, Frank.
Well, maybe we saved a life. Who knows?
I hope so, man. Stay safe, everybody. You stay healthy, Frank.
Thank you.
Everybody. Bye.